A mayor's job is never done. No matter what year it is or how good a town is doing, there will still be a budget to do, roads to maintain, and a school year to kick off. So how does a successful long-time public servant decide when the time is right to get new eyes into City Hall? We're bringing on Waterbury Mayor and former CCM President Neil O'Leary to talk to us about his decision not to run after 12 years in office and what the future holds for a lifelong public servant. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College. The Municipal Voice is the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state-local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect consensus views of CCM or our member municipal leaders. Mayor O'Leary, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So you've been in public service for over 40 years now. You started off in the police department, rose to the ranks to be police chief before becoming mayor. And obviously being a police officer and being mayor, kind of different roles. So first I want to talk about being a police officer a little bit. What drew you to becoming a police officer in the first place?
Well, the funny part is I actually joined the Waterbury Police Department with the intentions of working for a few years to save up money to go to law school. And as it turned out, I liked it so much, I never left. So with all my intentions of, working 3 to 4 years as a police officer to save up money to go to law school, I contemplated going to law school on a part-time basis. And then, I don't know, I fell in love with the police department really early on in my career. And I just decided that was what I was destined to do, and that's where I stayed. I never fulfilled my dream of going to law school, but I certainly had a great career at the police
But
department.
no regrets.
None.
How did you feel like you could help your community in the role of a police officer?
Well, being a police officer in 1980 is a lot different, of course, than being a police officer in 2023. But one of the things I really enjoyed the most, honestly, was helping people, right? And that's what you always hear. But, the role of police officer in Waterbury and everywhere else is to protect and serve. And, we had a very progressive police department all the way back to 1980 with a very progressive chief of police whose name was Frederick T. Sullivan. And he actually introduced community policing all the way back in 1981. And I remember we were the first police department in Connecticut that actually started a community policing unit. I wasn't assigned to it, but certainly that was the mantra of the Waterbury Police Department, community always. And I enjoyed getting to know the people in the Waterbury community. I obviously knew a lot of people in Waterbury when I went on the police department, but working with some of the more challenged sections of the city. And I think what I enjoyed most, Matt, was working with the youth and, the young people and trying to get them, to appreciate what the role of a police officer was and is in their community through that type of community policing initiatives, working side by side with the young people instead of in a disciplinarian or a authoritarian role. Just to make a lot of friends and quite frankly have a lot of fun.
Definitely. And how did that change when you did become chief of police in 2004?
Actually, that was probably laid the foundation for when I became the chief in 2004. My career then was 24 years in with the PD. And, we immediately started what's called the Police Activity League.
Okay.
We now have one of the largest police activity league organizations in the country.
And what's involved in the Police Activity League?
Well, it's where you the Police Activity League, or otherwise known as the Police Athletic League, have been around for over 100 years. But the model is to integrate the police department and police officers deeper into the community using students and youth to do so. As I mentioned, we had been doing that since 1980. But we really organized this what we call PAL in 2004, and we bought some property. We bought a vacant school. We bought a vacant Catholic field house. We ended up buying almost a whole campus in the north end section of the city, which was one of our most challenged areas. And the first year we had 87 students that were members of the Police Activity League, and the next year we had 1,000.
Wow.
And it was so successful working with the teachers and working with the school administrators. It's a program now that has been in effect since '04, and now we service over 4,000 children annually. And it's been a great success story and a model for other PALs across the country, and quite frankly, other PAL programs in the state of Connecticut. And again, it's working with youth and students. We run homework havens, we run athletic programs, nutrition programs. Every summer, we run free swim programs where we teach more than 700 children a year how to swim. So that obviously we worry about them. We call the program How Not to Drown.
Yeah.
And those students who are really acclimated and enjoy swimming, we get them into the YMCA to swim competitively. And the others, we just teach them the basic skills of swimming so that, we've been very fortunate and we've had very few drownings since we've started this program. And it's working, with police officers side by side in the community, particularly with students and disadvantaged youth. And, it's been a very successful program. It's received national attention for several years now. And it's just, the timing of it was perfect way back then. And I think it really made a big difference during the years where there was some unrest, civil unrest with the George Floyd and related issues. I think the PAL program and its inception over time was easier for our youth to understand a little bit more that the police are our friends and supporters and not our adversaries.
Yeah, I guess that's part of it is, there's the sports, but also some programs like these are important to prevention and service in a lot of ways.
No question about it. So many of our PAL students who were maybe heading in the wrong direction turn themselves around a little bit. Really, I think, too, one of the things that needs to be recognized, and one of the most important aspects of the PAL program is parental engagement. We got we were very open. We had open arms for parents and aunts and uncles and even grandparents who wanted to participate in the PAL program with their children. And that's made a big difference and continues to make a big difference even right up until present time.
That's great. So you retired from your role as police chief in 2009. And in that year, you made a pivot and started to serve on the city's Board of Education. Was this a passion that you had before, or were you just driven by a urge to help the community in any way you could? How did that come about?
After starting the PAL program in 2004, I became really interested in how we could further our students' opportunities for better, educational focus. A big part of PAL was education. And as I said, after school programs, mentoring and tutoring programs. And so I got very interested in education. I have a family full of educators. And so I went on as the Board of Education as a commissioner from 2009 until I was elected mayor. And the focus really was how to, teach our students and families and how we could better our educational opportunities, especially for our population of students who obviously were, impacted by poverty situations, broken homes, challenges not only in the home but in the family structure as well. And I was intrigued by how we could do better, and that's why I went on the Board of Education. And that I really enjoyed that period of time. That was about a 2.5-year run on that before I got elected to the mayor's office.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, right after that, you got elected to the mayor's office in 2011. At this point, you've been elected to 4 terms, and you're one of the longest serving mayors in Waterbury history. I think the longest consecutive serving mayor. What made you say after a career in the police force and the other stuff, yeah, I want to run for mayor?
Oh, I think my background as a police officer, police chief, and then commissioner on the board of ed, one of the things I realized is that if you really want to make change,
Mhm.
you can do a lot of great things as a police chief, and you can do the same as as board of ed commissioner. But if you really want to have an impact on a community at large, at the best and most significant way, is to pursue the mayor's office.
Yeah.
The mayor of any city, mayors, first selectmen have significant authority in their communities. And in Waterbury, we have a strong mayor form of government,
Hmm.
which is, you know, gives anyone who is interested a real opportunity if you really want to put in the time and the effort and the commitment, and a lot of times sacrifices, family sacrifices and other things. But
Yeah.
you know, you can really change a community if you are in the mayor's office and you're like-minded and really committed to making the community more accessible for better education opportunities, poverty relief, taking care of just a variety of issues. In the mayor's office and here in the city of Waterbury is the platform to do so. So I learned that when I was
Yeah.
police chief. I was a little frustrated we couldn't get certain things done. On the board of education, I was frustrated a little bit because I thought we could do better. And I thought, well, maybe the next best step is to run for mayor, which we did successfully in 11.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, I've been here now. I've only got a few months left, but I've been here for 12 years already.
Yeah.
And look, I'd like to think that we've had a pretty significant impact on the city over the last 12 years in many different ways.
Definitely. And as we said, it's been 12 years now, but thinking back, how did it feel to win the support of your city to, be elected mayor?
Well, it was a pretty contentious battle the first time around.
Hmm.
I took on a 10-year incumbent, my predecessor, and so it was quite an election, to be honest with you, Matt. And
Yeah.
glad it's over. And we did win substantial support in that very first time, and it was very gratifying. I think that the work that we did as the police officer, police chief, board of ed commissioner laid the foundation, and we came in with high hopes
Yeah.
and a vision of very big dreams, and
Yeah.
frankly, some of them I think we've done very well with, and others we continue to work on.
Definitely. Talking about some of those big things, what was your most important prerogative when entering the role?
Actually, to bring the community together.
Hmm.
We, you know, the election really opened my eyes to even more disparities in the community between ethnic groups, between, the elderly population. I was very concerned with, and of course, our most tender age students, which is the reason why I ran for mayor in the first place,
Yeah.
to try to make a difference in those areas. And we started doing, and we were operating, our mantra, and a lot of this you hear from political people all the time. But we really wanted to be transparent. We
Yeah.
wanted people to become more involved in their city government. We wanted to be transparent as we could be, and we have been, quite frankly.
Hmm.
And we also wanted to invite the community to be a part of the solution instead of ignoring them, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what we started from day one. And I mean, we all know that you can't always keep everyone happy, but we do try to take input from everyone when important decisions need to be made. And I think that for the most part, people would agree that we have been as transparent as anyone could remember. from the mayor's office perspective.
Hmm.
And one of the hardest things about being the mayor, though, Matt, quite frankly, is sometimes you have to make really hard decisions.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to make some people happy and some people will be unhappy. But I think as long as you do it in a transparent manner and people know that
Yeah.
you're trying to do what's right for the city as a whole, I
Hmm.
think it's easier to get things done. And I think
Yeah.
over the 12 years, we've been able to get an awful lot of things done through that methodology.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM. As you mentioned, you've gotten a lot of things done, some things they're still working on. What's something that you learned on the job that you might have thought initially would be easier, but turned out to be an uphill battle, or vice versa, something that you thought was going to be a lot harder than it turned out to be?
Well, I think that to be a successful mayor, one of the things you have to do is you have to build relationships with certainly the state of Connecticut, both
Hmm.
your local representatives and your state senators. And I credit CCM, Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, for teaching and mentoring all of us newly elected people during our early years in office
Hmm.
and how important it is to build those relationships. And I was very fortunate to build strong relationships with both Governor Malloy and our current governor,
Hmm.
Lamont. And I considered both of them to be huge mentors for me, quite
Yeah.
frankly. And I think that the challenge that most people have is getting involved with really partisan politics. I think that's where it falls apart, right?
Hmm.
So as a Democrat, I was lucky. So Malloy was a Democrat, and Governor Lamont is obviously a Democrat. But
Hmm.
I learned the value of working with the Republican Party as well, and getting things done for the city of Waterbury. In many occasions, I had built strong relationships with people on both sides of the aisle
Hmm.
and went to Hartford very, very frequently. I was a staple in the legislative office building, pretty much during the last 12 years of my office, and became fast friends with a lot of those great people. Some of them are gone on to retirement and greener pastures, if you
Yeah.
will. But still building those strong relationships, I think. I thought it would be difficult, but it really wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be because
Yeah.
they actually, elected officials really want to help cities like Waterbury, and especially, the leadership on both caucuses, both the Democrats and Republican caucuses have been very, very helpful over my 12-year tenure, but
Yeah.
particularly in the last several years, we've really, enhanced those relationships, and that has proven to be very helpful for the city in many different ways, from funding to battling COVID to everyone putting politics aside and doing what's right for not
Yeah.
only our city of Waterbury, but quite frankly, for every other city and town in the state. That's where CCM came in on many different occasions. And of course, during COVID, I mean, we
Yeah.
all decided what was most important, and we worked together. And I think that period of time made those relationships even stronger.
Everyone had to work together. There wasn't a lot of other options.
There were not a lot of options, and there's a lot of politics came out through that. Remember, Matt? So
Yeah.
masks, no masks, in school, out of school.
Yeah.
Parental anxiety over many of those issues, and I will always credit Governor Ned Lamont for his leadership during that really difficult period of
Yeah.
time, because he brought people together on every level and worked really well, not only with the state legislature, but most importantly, he worked really well with the local officials.
Yeah.
And right. And so everything is politics is local, right? And so, it was the boots on the ground. The governor visited not only Waterbury on numerous occasions during COVID, but most cities and towns throughout the state as well. And his presence made a big difference and quelling a lot of that anxiety that was coming during those period of times, particularly the partisan politics. I think the governor taught us all a lesson that we all needed to work together
Yeah.
and build relationships, and those relationships still last to this minute.
You mentioned CCM, and one thing that's important to us here at CCM certainly was your time as our president of the board of CCM. What was your experience as president? What was something that you got done as president that you're proud of?
I have to tell you, I think, by the way, I was the president for 2 consecutive years of CCM, which I thoroughly enjoyed. First of all, the staff at CCM is amazing and hardworking and very knowledgeable, and the leadership was very, very helpful. And as the incoming president, I enjoyed every minute of my time for those 2 years. I think the thing that I enjoyed the most, quite frankly, was at our meetings is making sure that everyone's concerns were addressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
To try from don't forget CCM makes up 169 cities and towns in Connecticut,
Yep.
from our very smallest communities to our largest communities, and the needs are very different, right? So the smallest community has a completely different set of needs compared to Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport, and Waterbury, right?
Yep.
And then you get into your mid-sized cities, and I think what we try to do, and I think CCM has done very well and continues to do even before I became president, and certainly since, is to make sure that CCM itself operates in a very transparent manner,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that 169 cities and towns is not an easy task to keep people happy. But I think that the leadership of those cities and towns recognize and understand that CCM is there to help and to
Yeah.
advocate for the cities and towns through the legislature and, of course, through the governor's office. And I think CCM has been very successful. And that's why the membership is so strong in working really hard and diligently for our cities and towns and our residents of the state,
Yeah.
and forging really strong relationships with the leaders of both the Democratic caucus and the Republican caucus, and of course the governor's office.
Yeah. One thing we always stress at CCM is cooperation between towns and cities, regionalization in some cases. How important was collaboration to you personally in City Hall and in your region?
Oh, very important. And those are the things that you learn as a newly elected. I joined the city of Waterbury when I got elected, quite frankly, was not part of CCM, which always was
Mm-hmm.
very confusing to me. So we joined CCM right away. And CCM provided a platform of good learning, not only attending CCM events throughout the state of Connecticut, but also working with the U.S. Conference of Mayors throughout the country.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn what's happening and what's important in your state, such as ours in Connecticut. But when you're a part of the larger picture, you can also learn what's important around the country and the challenges that each community faces. And most importantly, I think, Matt, you learn to collaborate with people
Yeah.
and to understand each other's needs and try to figure out solutions instead of just piling on, if you will. So
Yeah.
I think that's what I learned most from CCM. And I think, the successful picture simply is transparency, commitment, compassion, understanding each other and your need, understanding each other's needs, and really trying as much as humanly possible, recognizing how strong partisan politics is, not only in
Mm-hmm.
our state, in our country, but also recognizing that the real work gets done in a bipartisan fashion. And if you can really, put all your egos aside and personalities aside, you can really get some really good work done, especially with a strong governor such as Governor Lamont.
Yeah. So, as we mentioned earlier, you are the longest consecutively serving mayor in Waterbury history, 4 terms. How do you decide that 4 terms were enough?
Well, it's funny. When I first got elected, they were 2-year terms, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in 2011, we got elected, and we ran again and 2 years later in 2013. And we decided that, the 2-year term was too short to run a city such as the size of Waterbury.
Hmm.
Really, every 18 months you're campaigning and taking time away from what you should be doing, which is running the city. And
Yeah.
it's costly. So we tried it. It had been on the ballot a couple of times to change the city to a 4-year term and failed. And we tried it in 15, and we were so lucky to get it done. And it passed, and we were
Hmm.
thrilled because now we could really work and not worry about running for office every other year, which is completely difficult to do in a city the size of Waterbury. But at the end of the day, I think people recognize that we were just working all the time, right?
Yeah.
Hardworking, being visible. It's a 7-day-a-week job. It's not a
Yeah.
5-day-a-week job. It's a 7-day-a-week job, showing up at events on Saturdays and Sundays and evenings and holidays. And, we were just everywhere. And I
Yeah.
think the people of Waterbury really appreciated that. And, we talk about partisan and bipartisan politics. And, after my first election, we did really well, obviously, well enough to, defeat a 10-year incumbent.
Yeah.
But then every election after that, we were getting significant support from not only Democrats, but Republicans and also unaffiliated voters. So, our message resonated. And I think, honestly, I think that the thing that I've learned the most is just to be transparent, not only in your and the way you run the government, but also in your answers to people. So
Yeah.
simply put, if someone comes up and says, Mayor, can you help me with this? And can you help us accomplish this? And if it's something that is so far fetched that we can't do it, I think the simple answer is, listen, we can't do that for you
Yeah.
or your organization. But what we can do is let's try to figure out something significant that may not get you exactly what you want, but might get you going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Instead of simply saying, well, let's look at it and we'll revisit it down the road. And then over time, you never revisit it and people become frustrated and they get angry. I think the most simple thing that politicians can learn over what I've learned over the last 12 years is just be honest.
Yeah.
You can do something, do it. If you can't do something, have the courage to say, we just can't do that.
Yeah.
And if you have to say that to them, say, but let's try to figure out something that might be acceptable to
Yeah.
you and your organization or even your family. Let's look at it collectively and let's at least try instead of just saying, nope, can't do it, move on. Let's try to work it out. But really, if you really know and deep in your heart that there's no way that you can get there, you just need to tell them that so that they're not waiting and then getting frustrated by no action. Does that
Yeah.
make sense to you?
Definitely.
That's kind of the way we've been running government for the last 12 years. I learned that from a mayor that was mayor many years ago. I used to listen to him, watch him, and got to know him. And he said, Neil, if you can't do something for someone, don't string them along.
Yeah.
Just be
Just tell them.
straight with them. But it does take courage to say, I'm sorry, we just can't do it. But people will respect you more for your bluntness and your honesty than telling them we'll look at it and then
Just telling
knowing
them.
so well you're not going to do anything.
Just telling them what they want to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're coming into an election soon, and you're not going to be running, which means soon there will be a new mayor in Waterbury for the first time in over a decade. What accomplishments, looking back, would you say summed up your time in office? What are you proud of?
Oh, I'm proud of the city was struggling fiscally when we came into office. We were on the rebound, no question
Hmm.
about it. But we were, not that long ago. As a matter of fact, Matt, 22 years ago, we were bankrupt,
Yeah.
and the city was taken over and by what was called the State Oversight Board, and our bond rating was triple B minus junk
Yeah.
bond status. And we had a great group of people that who participated in this oversight board in 2001. which ran the city of Waterbury for 5 years and brought some really strong fiscal policies in place and ordinances and, no more robbing Peter to pay Paul and
Yeah.
transparent budgeting and all the things that matter. And, we continued on the path that had been put in place and added some more fiscal guardrails, if you will, along the last 12 years. And we brought the city to a AA bond rating.
Yeah.
Just last year, we got another bond rating increase. So I'm really proud about the fiscal stability of the
Hmm.
city. I'm proud about the economic development projects that have grown the grand list and really made an impactful difference in the, again, revenue coming in and pretty significant budget surpluses each and every year, including this year.
Hmm.
I'm very proud of the programs that we put in place to help our elderly population. We do provide, $500 rebates on property tax bills for our elderly,
Hmm.
which I'm very, very proud of because, a lot of these folks are on fixed incomes and as you know, inflation and other things have just gotten so out of control. The only way they can hold on to their homes, and they're very modest homes, is if we
Yeah.
give them some sort of tax break. I'm proud of that. And I'm also really proud of the brownfield remediation we've done.
Mm.
Waterbury has more active brownfield remediation projects going on than any other city in Connecticut, and quite frankly, I think New England at this point. Our legacy, of course, was the brass industry.
Yeah.
And we have, probably about 50 brownfields in the city that are, the legacy of our brass manufacturing industry. But right now we've got about 20 active brownfield projects going on. And basically that means cleaning those polluted and very blighted sites and getting them back on the tax rolls,
Yeah.
creating jobs and stability, but most importantly, cleaning the environment, quite frankly,
Yeah.
and providing a better quality of life for our young people in these neighborhoods where these factories were located. And we're just this weekend, we're going to cut the ribbon for a little league, beautiful little league ball field that used to be a 250,000 square foot factory that was a brownfield. So,
Mm.
we've done that successfully over the last 12 years. We did it even when I was police chief for the Police Activity League. We
Yeah.
built a park when I was police chief that was a brownfield. We started it all the way back then. So I think overall we've improved the quality of life for the residents of the city, stabilized our finances. And I'm, just to be, as honest and transparent as I try to be, my biggest challenge continues to be education.
Yeah.
Our school district is one of the few in the state that keeps growing every year. Many school districts, especially in the suburban communities, have shrunk. Ours has grown, and we're up to about 19,000 public school students now in the city. We're the third largest school district in Connecticut. And look, we have a very diverse population that we're so very, very proud of, and many, many first generation students and families coming in from all over the world that we're very proud of as well. But poverty continues to have a negative impact on education, and the achievement gap is as significant in Waterbury as it is in other parts of the state. And the one area that I wish we could do better, and I always will support to try to do better, even out of office, is to try to bring a better opportunities for education for all of our residents of our city.
What do you think about the future of Waterbury? Is the future bright for the city?
Oh, I think it's so bright, and I don't say that lightly. With a AA bond rating, businesses have moved in here, and amazing to see how many new businesses have come into Waterbury since we've stabilized ourselves. The 84 widening project, you can actually drive through Waterbury now instead of sitting in a bottleneck traffic for 30 to 40 minutes. That was a priority of this administration, working with both governors, both Malloy and Lamont. The train station has been redone. The train tracks between here and Bridgeport have been re-signalized, meeting all federal guidelines. Now we can put freight on the rail line. We saw an influx of about 4,500 new people come into Waterbury during and post-COVID, mostly from New
Wow.
York. We're grateful for that. I have to tell you, I am really have such a great outlook for Waterbury moving forward because I think the foundation is so strong. And I think, yes, it's the first time we've had really a competitive election for the mayor's office in 12 years. But regardless, I think whoever is the next mayor of the city of Waterbury is going to walk into a much healthier and stronger city than I did 12 years ago. And I'd love to take all the credit, and I wish I could, but I just can't. It's a team, and it starts with the governor, and it works its way through the legislature, and then, of course, our board of aldermen. And we feel like we're in such a great and strong place as we have companies that continue to call us every day for tours of the city and to look at potential opportunities here. Do we have our problems? Of course we do. Everyone does, and everyone that says they don't, well, they're not quite being honest with you. I am concerned a little bit about the uptick in crime, and that's not unique to Waterbury. It's all over the country, certainly. I think we all need to work together, continue to work together as we did last year on some of the issues pertaining to crime. But overall, and the 4,500 people who just moved into the city over the last 2 years will tell you that how much they enjoy the city of Waterbury. We have a extremely strong middle class population. We have great neighborhoods. We have great neighborhood schools, pre-K to 8 schools all over the city. And, we're pretty darn proud of all those things. And our high schools are turning out amazing students. And those that are going off to college are doing really well. And those that are going into the workforce are doing well.
Yeah.
The outlook is really strong, Matt.
The future is bright for the brass city. And
really
finally, what's the future hold for you? Will you continue in public service?
I definitely will continue in public service. I'm not sure at what level. I will always be here. I'm not leaving the city of Waterbury. I'm quite frankly turning 65 this year, and I'm in my 43rd year of service to the city, continuous service. So kind of thought maybe it was time to take a little bit of a break, have a brand new grandchild, first grandchild.
You've earned it, certainly.
Came in June of this year, and looking forward to spending some more time with family and friends, but also really looking forward to continuing to give back to the city. And I really believe in our city, and I always will believe in our city. So the future, I think, will be somehow being involved to the extent that people would like me to stay involved, and also to provide any mentorship or guidance, and quite frankly, to support the city of Waterbury in every way possible.
Great. Well, Mayor O'Leary, thank you for coming on the show today and speaking with us, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you, sir, and it's been a pleasure. And my regards to Connecticut Conference of Municipalities and everybody within the organization. Thank you.
We'd like to thank our guest, Mayor Neil O'Leary. We'd like to thank our sponsors at Gateway Community College and Housatonic Community College. Learn more at gatewayct.edu and housatonic.edu. The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Christopher Gilton is our producer, Harry draws on the boards, and I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like, and watch out for a CCM chat series on our YouTube page.